You are invited to the party of the century full of debauchery, ex-lovers, guns, and maybe somebody dying at the end. Who wouldn't want to come to that? Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are chatting about a very fun, very sexy, very sultry, very diabolical film, and that is Nia DaCosta's Hedda. This premiered at TIFF earlier this year. I'm so happy that I got to catch it there. I'm glad that I got to see it in a theater. I know that it's supposed to have a very limited theatrical release. It might not be available in all markets across the country. If you are able to see this film in the theater, I do highly suggest it because it is gorgeous. But if you have to watch it, it'll be on Prime later in the month too. But either way, watch it. This film is Nia DaCosta's retelling of the very famous late 1800s play Hedda Gabler, and she brings it into a little bit more of a modern time frame. This is still very much a period piece, however, not 19th century period piece, which I think will appeal to a lot of people. It has an absolutely fun, stacked cast, including Tessa Thompson, Imogen Poots, Tom Bateman, Nicholas Pinnock, and Nina Haas. If you are not familiar with this story, that's okay. You have literally many versions that you can watch. There is a 1960s TV movie called Hedda Gabler starring Ingrid Bergman. There is a version you can watch from the 2010s. I mean, so many different stories, but I do really like that Nia DaCosta put her own spin on this. As I mentioned, it is set in the 1940s, 50s, I'm not exactly sure which decade. However, it has these big brass instruments, it's got jazzy sound to it. The biggest change that she makes, of course, is that Hedda's ex-lover who comes to this very lavish party is a woman in this version versus a man, and it is just absolutely delicious. Hedda tells the story of a fierce, sexy woman named Hedda, played by Tessa Thompson, who has just recently gotten married and wanting to show off her and her husband's new home, which they can barely afford, and to introduce themselves into society, they throw a big party where she is scheming behind the scenes. She invites a professor over, which she hopes helps her husband get a good footing with him because he's going after a professorship. She invites a family friend who is helping finance this home, and he expects her to return the favor in some interesting ways. And then, of course, she also invites her ex-lover, Eileen, who, unbeknownst to her, is also going after the same professorship that her husband is. And so there is a lot of backstabbing and fun and debauchery and just so much great grand times that happen in this film. This film has gorgeous production design, gorgeous costumes. The cinematography just looks so vibrant. You feel like you are in the middle of this party, and this film reminded me so much of just that party atmosphere that The Great Gatsby sets up. Everybody is just having a great time, and there is one person on everyone's mind. Most people here at this party have Hedda on their minds, but she has Eileen on her mind, and it's kind of great to see, like, ooh, is she here? Is she not here? When she does arrive, there is a great parallel to the introduction for Jay Gatsby. Who is he? Where is he? And they also do it through a double dolly shot, which is just so cool. It is amazing to see this in action. It literally seems like Hedda is floating over to Eileen. It is just so cool. Tessa Thompson in this role is just absolutely vibrant and brilliant. She steps into this sexy minx and vixen role with such ease. She is so glamorous. She is very sharp. She is just having a ball, and it is a ball to watch her. And it's so cool to see her planting all of these little seeds behind the scenes, whether it is her just kind of casually dropping some information about her husband, or she is trying to get a character to drink a little bit too much because then that lowers their inhibitions. It is just so fun to see somebody be an evil genius mastermind behind the scenes, and it just seems like she is having the greatest time in this film. Her behavior and just the way that she is kind of working behind the scenes, and especially as it relates to Eileen in this story, reminded me so much about The Handmaiden. I just adore that film. I love women who scheme, and this is another prime example of it. Now, we we don't really get a whole lot of time spent with a lot of the other supporting players, but Nina Haas really is the main one right under Tessa Thompson here, and oh my god, it is just incredible to watch the two of them together. It seems like nobody else can really stand up against Hedda because she has this larger than life persona. People just kind of fall at their knees and bend at her will, but Eileen is very much like, I've already been through that, we are not doing that again. And Nina Haas just seems up for anything in this film. I love these biting comments that she throws at Hedda and just how unfazed she is, despite Hedda seemingly looking so cool on the outside, but we know deep down that her heart is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I'm seeing my ex again. Everything is falling apart. She just seems to be a worthy adversary against Hedda, but there's still just so much sexual tension between the two of them, and there are moments where they're getting very close to each other, and you're just like, ooh, what's gonna happen here? I will say too that their relationship, this like scorned lover to enemy type trope, just reminded me a lot of Kill Bill, especially in the context of, alright, we know that there are going to be some guns and some bad endings to this film because it starts off as in the present day before going into this flashback. I just remember while I was watching, I was like, I don't know, maybe they just do kill each other. Maybe she just does that heart thing that the bride does to Bill in Kill Bill Volume 2. Either way, I would have been very happy. Sometimes I feel like some filmmakers might be a little intimidated to take on a work of art that has withstood the test of time for decades and over a century at this point, but I really love the way that Nia DaCosta makes this film hers, not only through the production design and the costumes and bringing it into the 20th century, but through her script. I mean, there are just some juicy, biting pieces of dialogue in here. I remember one line was talking about how Hedda has an insatiable appetite, and she in particular loves eating out, which I was like, ooh, that is amazing. And then at one point, she and Eileen are talking to each other, and they're just saying like, oh, I missed you. Oh, yes, I missed you too, just like how I miss an appendix. And I was like, this is just absolutely wonderful. I am eating up every single moment. And aside from this very much being a fun night filled with a lot of chaos and it becoming a bit of a shit show toward the end, I really appreciate the way that Nia is able to include this commentary about a woman's place in society, especially during the 40s, 50s, 60s, where they were very much viewed as second-class citizens to men around them, where their only objective was to get married, to have children, to keep the house clean, and just have this beautiful life from the outside. But nobody actually really cared about what was going through their minds, if they were happy with the life choices that they made. I find it really well represented in Hedda's story because she is one who she gave up having a relationship with Eileen and she settled for a man, and she's not really happy with that decision. She doesn't necessarily have much to show for. Yes, she has this gorgeous home, but like, who cares? She clearly doesn't care about that. And then same thing with Eileen too. She is always going up against men, whether it's for a position or when it comes to her book that she's writing or just being in social circles with other men. And it's always having to prove that she should be in those rooms, that she is as intelligent as them, and if not even more. And so I just thought that was wonderful to include and intersperse in the middle of all of the chaos. Reminds me a lot of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, not only in this romance that develops between those two characters, but also very much just talking about a woman having to be married off and having to live with her husband, even though she does not want that, and nobody really seems to care about that. Now, this film isn't 100% perfect. I do think as we get into the final act and kind of the wee hours of this party, things kind of take a strange turn. I remember being in the theater being like, huh? what's happening right now? However, Tessa is able to kind of reel it back in. She just has such a wonderful presence in this film that I feel like once we get back with her, I'm like ready to be there with her. I'm ready to follow her. Overall, I give Hedda a 4 out of 5. I thought it was so stylish. I loved the vibe. I loved the cheekiness and just the raunchiness that is shown at times, and also the way that there is a lot more to this film under the surface. So excellent work from Nia DaCosta. Excellent cast, especially with Tessa and Nina. Could there be some awards potential with this film? I'd love to see it. Like I said, Tessa gives a lovely, sultry performance. Why not have her in the Best Actress conversation, along with the crafts like the production design, the costumes, the score, the cinematography, just so many different elements that I think worked and made this world so inviting. And you just want to be invited at this party, which if the film wasn't able to sell you on that, then it doesn't work. But it absolutely does. And all I know is if Nia DaCosta and Tessa Thompson are working together in the future and throwing more parties, I want to be on the invite list. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you here next time.